Coco Woolley, and Woolley did strike out in her first at-bat. Runners at first and second with 2 outs here. Ground ball to the right side. It almost ate up McKee, but she did a nice job of handling that hop and getting the 3rd out.
Non-conference slate as well. LSU and Texas A&M have both done a good job of that this season.
Defensive change for Texas A&M. It's going to be Olivia Johnson behind the plate for the Aggies. We mentioned that has been a bit of a revolving door position for Texas A&M, but 3 very capable defensive catchers, Ojo being one of them, the transfer from Washington, the Texas native, coming a bit closer to home to play her last season of college softball. And it's Mackenzie Rudity, the right fielder, who is leading things off for the Tigers. She was one of those string of hits that LSU had going in the second. She was one of the many singles to right field. It's like Amari Harper just became the magnet out there.
Yeah.
And we saw Trisha Ford pacing in the dugout, you know, that last half inning while her team was hitting. I think just trying to figure out what happened in that inning, that just truly anything that Emily Kennedy was throwing over the plate, LSU was getting a piece of, and not just getting a piece of, but putting quality base hits together. It's a full count now to Rudity. Swing and a miss. Strike 3, and that is the 4th K of the day for Emily Kennedy. And that, after last inning, is exactly what you want to see from the Aggie pitcher if you're cheering for the maroon and white.
Oh, big bounce back here. Just being able to get the leadoff hitter, and Rudity goes to the curveball again. You're going to see that working for her a lot today.
And I mentioned the maroon and white, which you don't actually see on the field tonight. They are wearing their pink jerseys. It is the Beat the Hell Out of Cancer game. And you'll see, obviously, with LSU, they've got the pink belts, some pink accessories in tonight's ball game. Really nice cause that obviously a lot of the teams throughout the country decide to wear the special uniforms or the accessories at some point during the season. Hard hit ball to the right side, but KK DeMint showing off the leather, and a nice pick by Perez at first for out number 2. That was Bedell with the hard hit ground ball, out number 2.
Well, we talk about KK DeMint and how pretty of a swing she has, but man, defensively, she shows off the range here going up the middle, and then just real soft with the fielding, and it makes everything look so smooth. And Maya Perez with the pick over at first base.
Smooth is the word that I hear the most when people are talking about KK DeMint. Whether she's hitting or fielding, she is just such a natural athlete.
Yeah, and it's not to say that she doesn't work hard. She works very hard, but let me tell you that the game comes so naturally to her, and she makes a lot of things look very easy.
Now it'll be Coco Woolley's time to show off the leather, but Maddox McKee says not so fast. I am too fast for that throw, as she is able to leg it out with the infield single.
Coco Woolley throwing off the back foot, her momentum going backwards. And McKee just able to leg that one out.
Great stretch by Perez, but McKee does a nice job of going all the way through the bag, and that is a 2-out infield single for McKee. That'll bring up Jaden Leno. She had a double in her last at-bat. Also scored one of those 5 runs in the second inning for the Tigers. And again, not a ton of stolen bases for both teams. They both came into this game with 50 stolen bases on the year. McKee has 6. She is 6 for 6 on the season. We'll see if she decides to test out the arm of Olivia Johnson.
Well, and I believe it was McKee who, in the Alabama series last weekend for LSU, she hit a double. What are they coming out for? Looks like LSU called a
timeout was called by LSU. And that is the assistant coaches wanted to come out, talk with Beth Tarina and Leno. It's Bryce Neal. And not sure if he was seeing something with Leno and her approach, and just wanted to have a quick conversation with head coach and his hitter. Bryce Neal, actually a connection with the Texas A&M coaching staff. I believe he was on one of Trish Ford's staffs at one point.
Yeah, I believe at
early
Arizona
on
State.
in his career. Yeah, at ASU. Home crowd wasn't too happy about that timeout. Broke up the momentum a little bit for Emily Kennedy.
Right.
So 1 ball, 2 strikes. McKee still hanging out over at first base after her infield single. Swing and a miss. Strike 3, and Emily Kennedy gives up no runs here in the top of the 3rd. The Aggies up to bat. When we come back, and it was 2 strikeouts in this inning. Emily Kennedy looking a little bit better for Texas A&M.
See, finding different ways to win. I know if I sound like a broken record talking about that, but it's important for, if you're going to be a really competitive team, especially looking for a top 8 seed, that you need to not be one-dimensional. And I think that they've done a really good job of, again, not relying on one thing too heavily and just being able to find different ways to win, find different things that work. And you're not so reliant on either Emily Kennedy in the circle or relying on the long ball.
Allie Enright leading things off for the Aggies in this inning. Texas A&M is on a 9-game win streak. They took care of business in Athens last weekend. They ended up only playing 2 against Georgia because of weather. That Monday night game got canceled, and so technically got the sweep. They won the doubleheader on Saturday. But Trish Ford and the rest of the team knows that this is a much different opponent this weekend. And I guess it's safe to mention that LSU swept Texas A&M last year, and Trish Ford has not forgotten that by any means.
No, she's not. And she's a competitor, so I wouldn't expect her to. She told us, you know, that one doesn't sit well with me, because they went into Baton Rouge and just felt like they lost a lot of momentum with that one. So I know they'd like to get it back here at Davis.
Enright fouls this one out of play. Allie Enright had a single in her first at-bat. Started her career at Arizona before transferring to Texas A&M. Has done a really nice job in center field. Rolls this one over to third base, and Coffey makes the play for out number 1.
Berzon going back to the changeup. Looks like that one was on the outer half of the plate. Allie Enright just kind of waves at it, gets the bat at the very, very end. Just kind of cues that one over to third.
So that'll bring up KK Dement, SEC Co-Player of the Week. Freshman out of Selma, California, swing and a miss at that first pitch. She grounded out to short in her first at-bat tonight. Started off the season really hot. Then she kind of cooled off and went through about a month where, not that she was playing poorly, but just we weren't seeing her look as comfortable at the plate. Trish Ford even said to us today, you could see her just tightening up just enough and kind of taking some swings at pitches that weren't really what she was looking for.
Right.
But then last weekend, and there's a shot into center field, and I was gonna say last weekend against Georgia, all of a sudden it looked like that light switch just flipped back on, and I was interested to see if we would see that continue this weekend, and right there, a nice base hit by the freshman.
It's exactly that. I mean, sometimes it just takes one, and it felt like in Georgia, when you see the ball and you feel really good contact and you see it land, that's another thing too. You know, if you hit it hard but you're hitting it right at people, that can be frustrating. But for her to see some success, she's got to feel really, really good headed into this weekend after the kind of weekend she had in Athens.
So that'll bring up Olivia Johnson, the senior out of Pearland, Texas. Grayson Coleman got the start behind the plate, drew a walk in her first at-bat. Then Ojo comes in behind the plate, and so this is her first at-bat of the evening. Johnson hitting .209 on the season. Ball skips in the dirt. Bajaran does a nice job behind the plate of keeping that one down and in. KK DeMint stays at first.
Yeah, it just seems like Berzon hasn't really been able to throw the rise ball competitively, so she's sticking with the off speed and the drop ball.
Catches the outside corner for strike number 2.
You see it again there. She's sitting around 55 with that changeup that just kind of floats over the corners of the plate. And if you're not hunting it, you know, you're looking at, but 2 strikes, you got to battle.
Ripped down the third baseline, and that's a fair ball. They'll hold DeMint at second. The ball gets away, but a nice backup by Bajaran, and Texas A&M, you feel like might have missed an extra base right there, but a single by Olivia Johnson. And Texas A&M has something cooking here in the third.
It's just a nice job, 2-strike hitting by Olivia Johnson. That one in her half of the plate. Able to get her hands out, line that one to left. And as far as the base running goes, I don't know that you want to take a chance on pushing 3. I know we talked about both teams being aggressive on the base paths. That one with the outfield that LSU has, I don't know that I'm maybe taking a chance there when you're trying to, with less than 2 outs, get some runners on base and keep them on base.
That's a great point, and I think because the throw got away, it's even easier to say, oh man, if you were only going to third, but you're right, that could have ended up being a little bit of a disaster had KK DeMint run into an out there at third base, especially knowing who you have coming up. And to look at your outfield for LSU, you know, Beth Torina joked, outfield U is what they call us sometimes, but we're okay with that. We think that we do it the best in the country.
And they've got good reason to feel that way with how many All-American outfielders they're pumping out in LSU. And it's no wonder that outfielders want to go play there. They have a reputation, and they've kept it up.
This one popped up by Eshte, and Leno will come in and make the easy catch for out number 2. So Berzon is able to retire Eshte. That'll bring up the top of the order. It's KP Kennedy Powell. She's 0 for 2 officially on the night. She did reach on that error by Tori Edwards at first base in the second inning and was able to score a run. Ground ball to the right side. This time, Edwards takes care of it, no problem. So a quick third out for Berzon at the plate. And even though Emily Kennedy was able to shut him down in the last inning, the Tigers are going to look to bounce back here in the top of the 4th. It's going to be 9-1-2 up for LSU. Avery Hodge will step in. She is 1 for 1 on the day. Rips this one into foul territory. Hodge was there were 6 straight hits in the second inning for the Tigers. Hodge was the 6th before Emily Kennedy finally got an out. It was a strikeout, and then she was able to get out of that inning. But just incredible seeing swing after swing after swing, and these weren't little dinky hits. I mean, they were ripping the ball. There's a rip. Maya Perez with a high hop right at the face, but makes the play.
Tough hop over there at first. Hodge stung that one, but Maya Perez sticking with it. And notice that even on a ball to the infield, you see Maya fields it probably about 10 feet from the base, but Hodge hustling down the line, making her make the play. That's again why, and the thing that separates teams like LSU and Texas A&M because they're always looking to take advantage of that small moment.
Coffee rips this one down the third baseline, but that foul, so now she will have to battle with 2 strikes. Coffee 0 for 2 on the day, struck out in her last appearance at the plate. And we don't say that often. Coffee 0 for 2 on the day. She does such an incredible job of finding her way on base. Hitting .440 on the season. This one lifted into right center, and Amari Harper comes on over to make the catch.
Yeah, uncharacteristic to see Danica Coffey 0 for 3. Between her batting average, her on-base percentage, I mean, she is always on the base paths, and she brings a lot of speed to this Tigers lineup, so that's a big out for the Aggies.
Dalia Lassiter steps in now for the Tigers. She's 0 for 1 on the day, had a sac fly back in the second. But that's the great thing I think about both of these teams, Donna, is even when one of your top players who you're used to seeing getting on base every single, game at least, if not almost every at bat, it seems like there are so many other players throughout the lineup to pick them up, to back them up, and to get it done even when the top of your order might be having an off night or the heart of your order is having an off night. There are so many other hitters throughout the lineup that pick up the pace.
Right, and that's why depth is so important. And, again, not everybody's going to be on at once, but Lassiter is.
Rips that one into center field. So 2-out single by Lassiter. And she'll take off the protective equipment and get the slide glove on. And this ball just left way too out over the plate.
Yeah, Emily Kennedy would tell you she wants that one back because that looked like maybe a curveball that just kind of sat in the middle, but Lassiter doing a good job of jumping on that. That's another thing. When you're facing All-American pitchers, you're also looking for the pitcher that you're facing to make a mistake. And when you see that,
taking advantage of
you have to take advantage of those opportunities because they don't come often.
Macy Bajaran now steps in. This one popped up, and KK DeMint will come over and make the catch. So LSU gets a runner on, but Texas A&M able to get out of it without any. Back in the second. Harper has been a lot of fun to watch really throughout her career at Texas A&M, but especially this season. And so not a flashy player, just very consistent, gets it done. Very even keel, and that's what Trisha Ford has said about her. Doesn't show a ton of emotion, which is great. You're not going to get her, she's not going to be super high, she's not going to get super low. And just goes out and gets it done.
And I think that's, it's a great point. You need people like that in the lineup who are just very even keel, whether they're doing well or not. But Amari Harper, since coming back, you mentioned it earlier, she has just been on a tear at the plate.
Hard hit ball to the left side, but right at Coffey, who makes the play for out number 1. So Sydney Burzon gets a little help from her defense there as she continues to deal in the circle. Gave up 3 runs in the first, 2 in the second. But then was able to shut out the Aggies in the third and looks to do it again here in the fourth. But she's got a couple of big hitters up next. It's Maya Perez, who is 2 for 2 on the night. A single in the first and a double in the second, hitting .461 now on the season. And that double off the wall in right field was just about a foot away from leaving the ballpark.
Yeah, I think when Maya hit it, she might have thought that was getting out of here.
I did. I think a lot of people did. It was just a matter if it was going to sneak right there inside the foul pole, but.
When we talk about Maya Perez, we're talking to Trisha Ford that she's grown up so much from her freshman year to now, and it feels like you can see that maturity on the field as well.
Fouls that one back, even the count, 2 balls, 2 strikes. And a look at what she's already done tonight. A single in the first, a rip shot into right field, and then the double off the wall. And we talked about it, Donna. We usually see a ton of opposite field power by Perez. Tonight, though, getting it done, pulling the ball to the right side. This time she does go oppo, but that is well into foul territory. And you mentioned the maturity and what Trisha Ford told us, and not just about Maya, but about a lot of freshman athletes, student athletes. They come in and they've never been away from home. They've always been the best on their team. They haven't had a lot of that independence, and that can be scary both on and off the field. And it just takes some getting used to, some adjustment. There's adjustment made by Perez. This one will get through the gap. Will she try for 2? She does, and it is a stand-up double for Maya Perez. Her second double of the game, 3rd hit of the game.
Well, you said it, 3 for 3 for Maya Perez. This pitch just hangs on the outside white of the plate, and we talked about her opposite field power, just able to drive that to left center. That's exactly what you want to do with that pitch. She's proving that it is really hard to pitch to her because she can get her hands in for the inside pitch, and she can also let the ball get deep and drive one to the outside.
And Texas A&M realizes how important that run is right there, so they are going to bring in a pinch runner for Maya Perez. It's going to be number 21, Scout Level. So now with a little bit of speed on the base path for the Aggies, and that'll bring up number 31, Mac Barbara. Had a 3-run shot back in the first and walked in the second, and that walk we saw was a little bit of an intentional walk. Kept it way off the plate, just like we saw right here from Berzon, and I'm wondering if Berzon's gonna do the same thing in this at-bat.
Yeah, I imagine that they're not really gonna give her much to hit. Especially, you see where Bajaran is setting up, and it's kind of just like they're not gonna leave anything over any white of the plate. It's whether or not Mac is gonna bite and try and swing at something.
Well, in Berzon, I guess you could say missed, or the umpire gave her a strike in the last at-bat, but it was still very, very outside. And yeah, I don't imagine Mac biting, and she does not. So it'll be a walk for Mac Barbara, 3rd free pass of the day. And that'll bring up Coco Woolley, and we talked a lot about Coco this game, and especially moving into this 5th spot in the order. Hasn't been able to get it done tonight. She's 0 for 2, but since moving into that 5 spot, she was hitting .400 entering this ball game. Takes the first pitch for a ball.
And we got the ball 5, now ball 6 chance going on here at Davis.
There's the famous Texas A&M banana. Will continue to add on to the chant until Berzon is able to throw a strike. And here at Davis Diamond this year, I think we've gotten up to about 12 or 13. They do the same thing over at Bluebell Park, and there is the strike, and she will get applause from the home crowd for finally finding the strike zone.
I would not want to be out there. Although I have to imagine there's something rhythmic about it, but I can't. If you're an opposing pitcher,
a little soothing, right?
Right.
Just misses there. So 3 balls, 1 strike now to Coco Woolley.
You know, we haven't seen just a ton of production out of Coco over the last couple weeks, but she's still hitting .373, and it's just important to note that, like, she is so hard on herself, and you know the coaching staff is like, you're 1 pitch away, you're 1 swing away, so just keep going at it. But she's so used to being consistent, getting on base, and making things happen that, you know, sometimes you can get in your head a little bit about that, but work's a walk, and just got to feel good about being on base too, because she's so dynamic on the base paths.
So bases loaded for the Aggies, 1 out. That'll bring up Allie Enright. Allie swinging at the first pitch, fouls this one out of play into the stands.
Allie Enright, another one who had a pretty good weekend out in Athens. I mean, we talked about how she can be a little bit streaky, but it sounds just like nobody works harder than Allie Enright. They talked about when they got back from Athens, she's the first one in the cages Tuesday morning. And so her work ethic just really comes through, especially in big moments like this. You can always tell, no panic. And she's confident because she puts in the work off the field.
Fouls this one back to the net. So 1 ball, 2 strikes to Enright. She's hitting 182 on the season with bases loaded. 333 is her average. And as you mentioned, Donna puts a ton of work into the game. We'll see if it pays off here. Here's the 1-2. I like that pitch right there by Burzon. Low inside, nice drop ball. Just falls off the table, but Enright does a nice job of laying off the pitch. Lovell at third, Barbara at second, and Coco Woolley at first. This one popped up on the infield. It'll stay on the dirt into foul territory. And it is going to be dropped by McKee, but it is a foul ball. So all the base runners will go back, but what an uncharacteristic play right there by McKee. And that is a huge, huge missed opportunity for LSU's defense.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if there's a miscommunication because this looks like it's McKee's ball the whole way. Edwards doesn't make a move towards that. That's a present for Allie Enright.
And there is no wind right now, so I don't know exactly where the misjudgment came in. Ground ball now, this one foul territory, and as you said, a present for Allie Enright. Can she cash in on that second opportunity? Because that's about the last thing you want to do besides strike out,
right,
is pop up to the infield when you've got bases loaded. Right now, you are looking for anything driven hard on the ground somewhere, make the defense make a play. And that pitch just misses low. Pretty pitch by Burzon. I'm impressed that Enright was able to take that pitch. But here it is, full count. You've got nowhere to put her. Crowd is getting loud. Here is the payoff pitch. Driven into center field. 1 run will score. Mac Barbara on her way home, and she scores. And the Aggies take a 7-5 lead.
Well, you talk about cashing in on an opportunity. Allie Enright, this one, little up in the zone, but over the heart of the plate and just drills that one back up the middle to score 2 and put the Aggies back on top. What a big moment for the senior.
And Anderson Garcia didn't get to catch that one because it didn't leave the park, but he is still very excited about it. You see the celebration by the field crew. You see the celebration by the team in the dugout. The Aggies up 7-5 and still with work to do here in the bottom of the 4th. As Sydney Burzon and the Tigers with only 1 out and 2 runners still in scoring position. Coco Woolley at third and Allie Enright at second. KK DeMitt up to bat in a beautiful off-speed pitch there by Burzon.
That's a nasty changeup.
And a go back, and I'm sure Beth Torina and Maddox McKee will also continue to go back to that pop-up that was dropped in foul territory. And depending on how this game ends, Donna, you're going to wonder, well, it already has made a difference, obviously.
100%, but you have to, I mean, it changes the course of the entire inning because if McKee makes that play, it's 2 outs, bases loaded, and this looks a lot different.
There's the off-speed pitch again, this time a called strike. So now KK DeMitt down in the count, 1 ball, 2 strikes. She's 1 for 2 on the day, singled in her last at-bat. Ground ball to the right side. Edwards can't handle it. And another run scores for the Aggies.
Well, KK DeMent just grounds this one to Edwards over at first. Looks like it just gets in on her hands.
And I think she looks up to see if she can make the play on Coco Bully coming home. It's almost like she took her eye off that ball right at the last second.
You know what? It looked like if you don't field that ball first, that's exactly what can happen. And an uncharacteristic couple of mistakes in the field for the Tigers, and it's allowed Texas A&M to, again, have other opportunities and get these runners in that are on the bases.
Well, and I think you mentioned it at the beginning of the game, Donna. These two teams match up so well. They truly look like the same team on paper in so many different categories. And it was going to be a matter of who made the fewer mistakes. And right now, LSU, unfortunately for the Tigers, is leading in that category with 2 errors. And we don't count the error on McKee for dropping that ball in foul territory, but very much that leads to 2 runs because then Allie Enright comes up and gets a base hit.
When again you see it changes the course of the inning, just because if you have 2 outs and that same ground ball happens, you're not thinking about getting the runner at home. You're taking that out at first base. So it also changes how Berzon has to pitch in the circle, because you're working towards different situations with different hitters, different runners on base. And
it's a squeeze bunt by Olivia Johnson, and she executes it perfectly. Another run for Texas A&M.
The Aggie dugout is fired up. The 12th man is fired up, and a perfectly executed bunt by Olivia Johnson. Berzon does not even look at the runner coming home. And the Aggies able to put up a 4 spot here in the bottom of the 4th inning.
Again, almost like a safety squeeze situation right there, but what a beautifully placed bunt by Ojo, gets the job done. Enright scores, and Texas A&M has put 4 runs up here in the bottom of the 4th. And now we're gonna have a pinch hitter for Kramer Eshte. It's gonna be the freshman, number 8, Frankie Vrajel. We mentioned a little bit in Amari Harper's story earlier tonight, broke her finger early on in the season. It was Frankie Vrajel who stepped into right field and did an absolutely fantastic job. She's hitting .346 on the season. Rips this one, but McKee, what a grab by the second baseman, saves a run, and maybe a little bit of redemption from the play earlier in the inning. But Texas A&M with a huge 4th inning there, and she will now face Tori Edwards to start the inning. First pitch swinging dead center field, but Allie Enright, right before the warning track, makes the snag, and that's a big out right there for Texas A&M. It's always a big out when you can get Tori Edwards out.
Without a doubt. I mean, the kind of pop she provides, her average, it says it all. I mean, she is such a dominant force in the box that anytime, you're right, anytime you can get her out, it's a big one.
And especially when it's leading off the inning, it
yes.
feels like. And you're always probably a little bit happier to pitch to her with no one on base, but even more so to start the inning off with an out. But that'll bring up Mackenzie Rudity, another strong hitter in this LSU lineup. Truly, all of these hitters are strong hitters. Never a breather, kind of like SEC softball in general.
Yep.
Never a breather.
Yeah, I mean, you look at just the conference as a whole, and it's every single weekend is an absolute slugfest. And just back and forth, it honestly, there's no, oh, we have so-and-so this weekend, so it's easy.
Well, and we talked to Beth Tarina before the game. They're here at Davis Diamond this weekend, playing the 3rd-ranked Texas A&M Aggies. They stay on the road. They actually stay in the state of Texas and go to Austin next weekend to take on the top-ranked team in the country, in the Texas Longhorns. And then they finish with 8th-ranked Florida, who has been in the top 3 at some point during the season. And so she actually looks back at some of the singular losses they had, like a game to Alabama, and says, it feels like that one got away from us. And those start to add up, and that's the tough part, is you do feel like you have to go in and get every single win possible. That's a good way to get it started right there by Rudity with a shot down the left field line. So a 2-out single by Rudity. And that'll bring out Savannah Bedell, your designated player in today's ball game.
Give some credit to the middle of this Tigers lineup. They were the ones who put up those 6 straight hits to drive in the 5 runs at the top of the second.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. Truly no break in this lineup. They run well 1 through 9. They hit well 1 through 9. Bedell 1 for 2 on the night, hitting .375. She grounded out to KK DeMint in her last at bat, but it was a hard hit ball. And that's the other thing, is some of these outs that they're registering that you're seeing, the defense, both defenses have made some really good plays and are having to work. Strike called for Emily Kennedy, that off-speed pitch right under 60 miles an hour.
Haven't seen too much of the changeup from her tonight, but when you're able to go up the ladder like that with, let's call it 70s, and then drop down to 59 for a changeup, that is a huge differential.
And Bedell does a nice job and draws the walk. So now runners at first and second for the Tigers. And I think it's important right here for LSU to at least try to answer back with a couple of runs. You don't have to get all 4 back in this inning. You'd love to if you're LSU.
Right.
You don't have to get all 4 back, but if you can at least answer back with a couple, you get yourself back in this ball game. A very defensive swing right there by McKee. Looks like it almost hit her, and she just kind of had to fist that off. It hits the net for a foul ball.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You don't have to get them all back this inning, but when you set the table and get runners on base with 1 out here, you'd like to cash in.
The walk to Bedell was only the 2nd free pass that Emily Kennedy has had on the day.
And we talked about earlier, she wants to keep those to a minimum. You don't want to be handing out free bases ever, but Emily Kennedy.
Aggies with a chance for the double play, but they're only going to get 1. KK DeMint makes the tag on Bedell for the out. And now you'll have runners at the corners with 2.
Number 15,
so McKee's safe at first as she was able to leg that out and avoid the double play. That'll bring up Jaden Leno. 1 for 2 on the night, struck out in her last appearance at the plate. 5 strikeouts on the night for Emily Kennedy. Ripped down the right field line, but that ball is foul. Almost an explosive hit right there for LSU, because McKee with a ton of speed at first, something in that right field corner, I think she's absolutely scoring.
Yeah, no doubt. There's been a couple hard line drives by the Tigers that have just kind of flared foul as they hit the outfield grass.
0-2 from Kennedy. Waste pitch outside. McKee with a big lead at first, but has not made the run for second. Runners stay at the corners for LSU. This one kind of cued off the end of the bat, and Kennedy Powell actually had to race to get to that ball before it spun back into fair territory. Really heads up play right there by Aggie third baseman.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Super heads up. You see the spin on that ball. We could see it from up here starting to tail back towards the line. If that ends up fair, we're looking at bases loaded. So heads up by Kennedy Powell to grab that one in foul territory.
This time Kennedy goes upstairs, but Leno does a nice job of taking that rise ball for a ball. Evens the count, 2-2. Now the runner will go, the throw will go down. A little off target. Coco Woolley does a nice job of keeping that ball in the infield. And the runner at third stays put. Rudity does not make a attempt at home. So now 2 runners in scoring position, full count. This one into left field, but Rajul is on the play and makes the catch. So LSU threatens in the top of the 5th, but they do not score any runs. Aggies keep the 9-5. Again, this third place ranking is the highest that Texas A&M has been ranked since 2008. And Kennedy Powell takes one right in the rib cage, it looks like. I don't know how much of that Evo shield really protected her. We'll take another look at this.
Yeah, that might have missed the Evo shield.
Ooh,
yeah.
Right in the upper arm. So not ribs, which is a good thing, but right in the upper arm. No shield there, so she'll make her way down to first base. But hey, that's what you want from your leadoff hitter.
Get on base.
Get on base. And we have a new pitcher in the circle for LSU. We're so busy talking about Texas A&M's resume, we missed Vallejo coming in. Ashley Vallejo, the senior. So LSU does go to the bullpen after Texas A&M put up that 4 spot against the starter Berzon in the last inning.
Well, Chelsea, Berzon's pitch count was getting up there.
And we're gonna see her again this weekend.
And that's 100% why I think that Tarina decided to put Vallejo in here in the bottom of the 5th, because she knows she's gonna need Berzon later in this series.
Ashley Vallejo, the senior out of New Waverly, Texas, transfer from McNeese in Louisiana, played 4 years there, was the 2022 Southland Pitcher of the Year. So comes into this program with a ton of experience, albeit not SEC experience, but McNeese does a great job of scheduling out of conference against teams like LSU, Texas A&M, Louisiana, always finding those really, really high-powered programs. So you know that she has seen a ton of competition on the other side.
Yeah, and Vallejo's got good stuff. She's going to work low to mid 60s. She's got a curveball, screwball. She's going to work east to west, and then she'll pepper in a rise ball. She's that one up well out of the strike zone, but.
And that's going to be key here, I think, for Vallejo, is keeping the free passes at a minimum. And right now, she's already issued 2 in a row.
Yeah, that's definitely not what Tarina was looking for, putting Vallejo in relief here. But if she can find it, listen, she goes lots of east to west. She's going to work the corners. She'll go up in the zone, but we're going to see a lot of that curveball. And in her first SEC start last week against Alabama, she went to the screwball quite a bit. That's going to break away from a lot of the A&M left-handers.
Maya Perez steps in for the Aggies. She is 3 for 3 on the night, 2 doubles and a single. Whatever she is seeing, it looks like a beach ball tonight.
It must. It must.
This one absolutely crushed down the right field line. That'll get into the corner. Kennedy Powell scores easily, and Maya Perez with her 3rd. Let me repeat that, her 3rd double of the night.
Chelsea, did you call it or what? That thing looks like a beach ball out there for Maya Perez. Inner half of the plate, again, they challenge her on that inner half. Maya Perez gets her hands out, extended. One hops the wall and has her 3rd double of the night. 2 doubles in a game was a career high for her, but hey, make it 3.
And Texas A&M increases their lead. They are now up 10-5 over LSU. No outs, 2 runners in scoring position for Mac Barbara. She has been walked her last 2 at-bats. That came after the 3-run home run she hit in the first. We'll see if Vallejo is willing to throw her anything over the plate.
You know, it's looking like
Mac might be walked 3 times in a row. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, it might be. I also think too, I mean, do you take a chance, but also there's no outs?
Well, it took a little bit of a chance right there, or at least got Mac to swing at something. Fouls it out of play. And a quick look at what she did earlier tonight, really to start things off. We were scoreless in the first, and Mac hit a 3-run shot over the right field wall to put Texas A&M up by 3. But Donna, we have to remember LSU was able to come back and score 5 runs in the second. So even though Texas A&M is up by 5 right now, this game is not over. And so if you're the Aggies, obviously you're absolutely wanting to add to the lead. If you're LSU, you are still trying very hard to stay in this ball game.
Yeah, without a doubt, which is why I thought that those 2 walks from Vallejo at the top of this inning were pretty costly, as you see Maya Perez cashing in. And again, setting the table for the Aggies to add to that lead and make it less comfortable. As far as LSU, you're trying to stay in this one. 5 runs is not a huge deficit for them to climb, but the way Emily Kennedy's been rolling the last 3 innings, it might be.
There's also been a defensive change for LSU in the infield. Now at second base, it's number 23, Sierra Daniel. Daniel and McKee have really been splitting some time there at second. And after McKee's, well, unfortunately for McKee, she had a fantastic play to end the inning. Barbara puts this one into left field, and that is an RBI single for Mac Barbara. And the Aggies keep putting it on. They're up 11-5.
Well, Mac Barbara just taking what she's giving. This one well off the plate. That's on the chalk of the right-handed batter's box. But Mac Barbara gets her hands out, makes good contact, just sends one to right field. Gets herself her 2nd hit of the night. Chelsea, that's Mac's 200th career RBI.
And we're gonna have a pinch runner at first base for Mac Barbara. Looks like that's gonna be number 9, Haley Golden. And that run at first base would actually be the game-winning run for Texas A&M. So Texas A&M taking that runner into consideration, going ahead and using the pinch runner for Mac Barbara, because if Golden scores, Texas A&M induces the run rule.
I mean, that's huge, and you look at the situation right now, runners on the corners, no outs. And when you have a hitter like Coco Woolley at the plate, you really don't know at this point what she's going to do. Yes, she could stand in and hit, but could she drop a bunt? Could she try and pound one into the ground and beat one out? She can do all of these things, which again, just makes it so hard to defend her. And with no outs and runners on the corners, even more dangerous.
And you said it right there, no outs. Texas A&M still has a lot to work with. Runners at the corners, Golden the pinch runner at first, Maya Perez at third. You've got Coco Woolley up to bat. She walked in her last at-bat. This will be the first time she has faced Ashley Vallejo, who just entered the game this inning. There's a little pop-up right into the middle of the infield, but a great play by Hodge to get on that one quickly. We saw a hit almost identical to that earlier in this ball game that landed, but Hodge doing a nice job of making sure she caught that one in the air.
Yeah, I think that one hung up a little bit longer. But nice effort there. Again, if you're LSU, you're just looking to get out of this inning, get back in the dugout, try and get something going offensively.
So runners remain at the corners. 1 out now. Allie Enright steps in. 2 hits on the night for Enright, singled in the first and in the fourth.
You know, Chelsea, it felt like Allie Enright's double last inning was really what broke this open for the Aggies, and felt like a total momentum shift in that moment.
Well, and Mac Barber interrupted me by getting a base hit, but earlier I was talking about the defensive change, Daniel at second. It was Maddox McKee who dropped Allie Enright's pop-up in foul territory, allowed her to get that extra swing. She ends up coming up with a huge hit. McKee ended up getting a great catch to end the inning defensively, but LSU going with that defensive change, putting Daniel in at second. Count now 3-1 to Enright, and you look back at that, again, that missed pop-up in foul territory, which should have been an easy out, totally changes the ball game. This one fouled out of play, full count.
One of these days, I'm gonna catch one.
That one wasn't even close to us.
No,
Yes, I know. Tori had one earlier this year and dropped it. She's blaming it on Will. all I know is that if a foul ball comes anywhere near us this weekend, you will have full access to it because I will not be going after it. Enright pops this one into foul territory on the run, but that is dropped by somebody on the field crew down there, and he's embarrassed.
Come on, we gotta have that.
Shout out to the Texas A&M field crew, though. They do an amazing job here at Davis Diamond. This field is top-notch in the country. In the stadium, you can see the sun setting there. Absolutely gorgeous night here at Davis Diamond. Payoff pitch, just misses. And Allie Enright with a nice at-bat draws the walk to load the bases, and the Texas A&M threat continues. So bases loaded. The run at second base would be the game winner for Texas A&M. KK Dement, who had a grand slam last weekend in Athens, up to bat with bases loaded here in the bottom of the fifth. Double play possibility here for the Tigers, and they get it done. Huge, huge play for LSU.
Yeah, that's huge for LSU to get back in the dugout, back on off strike at any moment. We've seen it. We saw it in the first couple innings. We've seen Texas A&M take advantage here in the later innings. But like you said, I mean, it's a little bit surprising, but also at the same time, we talked about both teams being able to get it done in different ways. And some nights it's the offense.
And I think, too, something of note is right now Emily Kennedy going into the sixth inning only at 98 pitches. Very rarely does she get all the way through 6 under 100 pitches. She has been very efficient tonight. Now, yes, LSU had that massive second inning, but they were getting it done with hits, and hits quick in the count.
Yeah, and I think that's just LSU's approach tonight has been to jump on that first pitch strike and not get deep into counts, because if you let Emily Kennedy take control, again, she's got power with the rise ball. She mixes speeds, and that's tough to follow. And so I just think that they've been jumping on pitches early, and that's kind of allowed Emily Kennedy to then, once she's settled in, just be efficient and get it done.
Only 2 free passes on the night by Kennedy. Ground ball out there from Avery Hodge. So that'll bring up the top of the order for the Tigers. Danica Coffey 0 for 3 on the night. One of the most dynamic and dangerous hitters in this lineup has struggled to find some success off Kennedy in the circle. Lifts this one, but KK Dement has a beat on it and catches it in shallow right field for out number 2.
Like we said, a rare hitless night for Coffey in the leadoff spot, but credit to how Emily Kennedy has pitched to her, and again, not letting Coffee get on base is important because of everything that she brings on the base paths.
Just like she can set the tone for the offense, getting her out can set the tone for Emily Kennedy and the defense for Texas A&M. So 2 outs. It's Jalia Lassiter up to bat for the Tigers. 1 for 2 on the night with a sac fly back in the second. That big second inning for LSU where they had 6 hits in a row. They were able to score 5 runs off of Kennedy. And I think that's what has also been really impressive about Kennedy and Berzon, who started the game for the Tigers, was their ability to just hang in there and get through those tough innings and then still come back and find success later in the ballgame.
Yeah, and I think that's a testament to, their experience in the circle, and that's kind of what makes them All-Americans, not just their success, but how do you handle failure? And for both of them to really hang in there for, especially Berzon too, as long as she did, I just think that speaks to why they're so successful.
Weak ground ball, it's gonna hit first base, but Maya Perez, look what I found. Makes the play, and it's a 3-up, 3-down inning for the Aggies. As we head to the bottom of it, as Texas A&M wearing the pink uniforms, LSU also participating with the pink belts on their purple jerseys tonight. Always good to see them supporting an amazing cause, and got to see some of those survivors out before the game began out on the field here at Davis Diamond. It has been a wild ride tonight. Texas A&M leads 11-5. And Donna, at one point during this game, they were behind, but they have been the comeback kids all season long. 13 come from behind wins. That is 6th most in the country. So the Aggies, they are, I hate to say it, but used to being behind and not panicking. They have been able to just come right back, and we've seen that tonight. After LSU put up that 5 spot in the second inning, the Aggies were able to answer back and now have completely taken control of this ball game.
Well, that's kind of what we touched on earlier, that when talking to Trisha Ford, she's like, this group is so confident and there is no panic when they get down. And so that's got to feel good. And she said, sometimes freaks me out a little bit that they're just like, yeah, no, we got it, coach.
She's like, I wish they would panic a little bit more.
Right, just a little bit, But she also said, they put in the work and they prepare for these moments. So, it's not super surprising that this group, reacts in situations like that. And that's how you want a top-tier team to be reacting.
Olivia Johnson with a 3-1 count. Rips this one into center field. Going back is Lassiter off the wall, and Ojo leads things off with a double here in the bottom of the 6th. Donna, we talked about this catcher position. Who could hit their way into the lineup? That is how you do it.
Yeah, Olivia Johnson just does a really nice job. Her second hit of the night of just barreling up pitches where they're thrown. Not trying to do too much.
Second, and that'll bring up Frankie Vrajel, the freshman. She came in back in the 4th. She had a hard hit ball at the second baseman. McKee was at second at the time and made a fantastic catch. But Vrajel did a nice job of barreling up the ball. We'll see what she can do in this at-bat. Frankie came in for Kramer Eshte in the 9-hole and has stayed out in left field. Fouls this one back. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Well, we talk about so many impressive freshmen in the SEC. I think Frankie Vrajel should be listed up there as well, because even though she's not in the lineup regularly right now because of what Amari Harper is doing, anytime she's called upon, she makes it look as though she's an everyday player in the lineup. So calm and confident at the plate. I think she's got a great approach. She plays great defense as well. You look at the numbers, by these two freshmen, KK Dement and Frankie Bragel, and what they've been able to do. They just look like they're having fun out there.
And sometimes it's easier as a freshman. This one popped into foul territory. On the run is Leno, and what a catch! Ojo is going to try to get to third, and it's a double play for LSU. So just like that, the leadoff double is erased. And the double play for the Tigers. Leno in left, making the throw to third in time.
Well, you talk about outfield you. Chelsea, this is why. Great play, headed towards the wall in left, down the third base line. That's a tough spot to be running full speed. Make the catch, and then a perfect throw to third base to double off Olivia Johnson. That's got to give the Tigers a little bit of momentum back here.
This one flared into left, and that will land. And Kennedy Powell's going to see the bobble, go to second, and she is safe. KP with the heads-up base running after Leno bobbled the ball in left field, and she takes an extra.
Well, that's exactly what we've been talking about with this aggressive base running, because Leno just barely bobbles this ball. As soon as she doesn't pick it up cleanly, immediately Kennedy Powell's headed to second. And that is why every chance you can get to get 60 feet closer to pushing runs across, both of these teams take those opportunities. Big one for the Aggies right there.
Amari Harper represents the winning run at home plate. If Texas A&M can score 2 more, that would induce the run rule here tonight. 2 outs, though. Ashley Vallejo and the LSU Tigers trying to get out of this inning. Vallejo going to call time as she was running out of time on the pitch clock. Harper walked and scored a run in her last at-bat. That rise ball misses out of the zone, even the count, 1-1. And now that play in left field by Leno, the catch and the double play, even bigger when you consider Kennedy Powell's single. Amari Harper up to bat right now. This one will go out of play. And, you know, I like the aggressive running by Olivia Johnson, but Leno just had the perfect beat on it and the perfect throw.
Yeah, especially
both of these teams.
Yeah, especially going towards the Aggie bullpen. Everything's still in front of her when she catches that. So being able to just stop, turn, and throw, it's not easy, but she did it perfectly.
Yeah, let's take another look at it because this is really pretty. Up against the wall and then just immediately comes down to make the throw.
Waste no time, and that's the no hesitation is a big part of that, because if you wait a second, you have to know ahead of time in the play, before the play happens, where you're going with the ball. Obviously, this LSU outfield knows where they're going with the ball.
Harper lays off that one just up in the zone, and it'll be a full count to Amari Harper.
That's a good pitch by Vallejo. I think it just missed.
Here's the payoff pitch. Another foul ball by Harper. She continues to work. Harper, the 2-hole hitter. Perez on deck.
Harper doing a good job of working the at-bat here. 8th pitch of the at-bat.
This one off the glove of Coffey, and they'll send Kennedy Powell. Not even close is the throw from Leno. And Amari Harper slides into second. Texas A&M 1 run away from taking this ball game on Friday night.
That's a great 3-2 swing. That ball low and away. Amari Harper sits, lets that ball get deep, and off the glove of Coffey at third. This throw by Leno, when you're watching Kennedy Powell round third, you're maybe thinking, I gotta put everything I have into this, but that one just sailed on her. Not able to make a play at the plate. Now,
and because of the throw, Amari Harper scoots into scoring position. With 2 outs, she will be running on any kind of contact from Maya Perez. Perez has been perfect tonight. 4 for 4, 3 doubles, a single, 2 RBI, and 2 runs for the sophomore. She can be as careful as she wants with Perez, but you've got another big hitter on deck with Mac Barbara.
I mean, that's exactly it. How do you try and pitch around Maya Perez, who's 4 for 4 with 3 doubles, and then knowing that Mac Barbara is in the on-deck circle?
I still think I'd rather face Mac in this situation. I know she has a 3-run home run on the night. She singled in her last at-bat, but you're talking about a perfect night. Everything that Perez is seeing right now is that beach ball.
Yeah, and as we just flashed up on the screen, Maya Perez hitting .491 with runners in scoring position. Like, you're absolutely right. I mean, hitting almost 500 in that category is huge.
This one's sky high. Leno will get under it and makes the catch. So they're finally able to retire Maya Perez. Texas A&M threatens the run. They've struggled tonight in the sense of they haven't just been able to score as many runs as Texas A&M. This is a team with the potential and with absolutely the talent to be able to take on those teams.
Yeah, I mean, if you're watching this one tonight, this is not an indicator of the rest of the series. At least I don't think it is. That's
Agreed.
not the LSU team that we've watched this entire season. And, you know, Torino was talking to us about the schedule and what's up next, and talking about how, you know, they maybe let a couple slip away early in some of these earlier SEC series. And you take a look, Texas A&M, Texas, Florida, and then Arkansas is also playing out of their minds right now. So just an absolute gauntlet. None of this gets easier. So you gotta feel like they are not the type of team that's going to roll over. I imagine a bounce back tomorrow.
Well, and we have to remember LSU and both Texas A&M 1 game away from a Women's College World Series appearance last year. Hard hit ball, that's off the glove of Coco Woolley. That'll skip into center field, and Macy Bajaran is on. LSU with the lead runner on here in the top of the 7th, and just a tough hop for Woolley right there.
Yeah, tough hop. Looked like it got her in the heel of the glove a little bit. But
They
that
are
ball,
going- yeah.
hard hit.
Hard hit. They are going to score an error by Woolley. So the first error of the night for Texas A&M. Kind of a pinch runner for the Tigers. It's going to be number 77, Samaya Jones. She is the freshman out of Pearland, Texas. And that'll bring up Tori Edwards, who doubled in her first at-bat. But then Emily Kennedy has done a nice job of controlling the hard-hitting freshman. Struck her out in the 3rd. She's going to swing at that rise ball. You're going to see that all night long from Kennedy.
Yeah, that's a couple times that Kennedy's gotten Tori Edwards to chase that rise ball.
Here's the 0-2. Waste pitch outside. But going back to finish that thought, both of these teams 1 win away from a Women's College World Series appearance. It was last year that Alabama finished SEC play with a less than 500 record and still advanced to the Women's College World Series. So yes, you want to win as many games as possible. You want to sweep series when possible, but you also have to know and they do know how tough this conference is, and postseason is a whole different animal. Sometimes it's just about getting there.
Right, it's a gauntlet. You're not going to be perfect in the SEC when every single weekend you're likely playing a top 25 team. And, you know, I think all of these teams recognize that. Part of it is just about if you get hot at the right time.
This one driven into center field. Jones is going to come around third. She'll stop at third. And it's a double for Tori Edwards as LSU is not saying goodnight quite yet.
This ball absolutely smoked by Tori Edwards. That one, a curveball that just kind of hung a little bit too long over the plate. Tori Edwards absolutely crushes that one. That got to the wall in a hurry.
Mackenzie Rudity now steps in for the Tigers, and she'll swing at the first pitch she sees right at Harper in right field. Play at the plate. Safe is Jones. A nice throw from Harper and a good tag by Ojo at home. But they're going to say Jones just slid under, and it looks like Trisha Ford's going to come out, actually talk to her catcher and say, hey, remember, neither coach has used a challenge tonight, so both of them have 2 challenges. She asked Johnson, hey, do you think you had her at home? But obviously, she thought the call was right. She was safe at home because she said, nope, don't worry about using the challenge. So another run on the board for the Tigers. There is 1 out as Harper made the catch in right field. Edwards did a nice job of advancing to third on the throw.
And credit to Samaya Jones for the slide into home, making that tag a lot tougher for Olivia Johnson.
And here's another look at the play at the plate. Yeah, great call, great slide. Powell bobbles this one, strong throw over to first, but Bedell, too fast. Edwards stays at third, so no harm done there. But Kennedy Powell going and tapping her chest right there saying, that's me, that's my bad.
You know, I said the Tigers were not going to roll over for the rest of the series. How about the Tigers not rolling over in the top of the 7th inning? I mean, I expect nothing less from this team. But look at the kind of inning that they can put together. I know they've just pushed 1 across right now, but part of it is just chipping away. Kennedy's starting to get up there in the pitch count. But, you know, she's in a spot right now where I don't feel like she's starting to overthrow. I think she knows that she can get it done herself, but she can also rely on her teammates out there.
Well, I think that's key, relying on your defense, right? Because there's absolutely no movement in the bullpen. Not to say that someone couldn't get ready, but this is definitely a spot where they want Kennedy to throw a complete game. Here's the 3-1. And that misses outside. So the bases are now loaded for LSU. Only the 3rd walk of the ball game issued by Kennedy. The good thing for Texas A&M is this puts a force at every single bag, gives you a lot of opportunities for an out, and truly, none of these runs matter. You need an out. If you're LSU, you just want to keep making Emily Kennedy throw pitches. Jaden Leno up to bat for the Tigers. Doubled back in the 2nd inning. Struck out in the 3rd. And lined out to left field in her last at-bat. Speaking of left fielders, Kramer Eshte back into left field for Texas A&M. She was replaced by Frankie Vrajel in the hitting lineup and in the field for a couple of innings. The starter returns. Curveball just continues to miss off the plate. 3 balls, 1 strike to Leno, and absolutely nowhere to put her. Bases loaded. LSU looking for runs, Texas A&M looking for outs. No with a step down to first base, but she'll come back as that is a called strike.
Big pitch right here for Kennedy. Nowhere to put Leno.
And she misses. Fourth walk of the game, second walk in a row for Kennedy, and that's your 7 and 8 hitter. Again, not a weak spot in this lineup, but when you get down to the bottom, you obviously really want to limit those free passes.
Well, now you've got the freshman right-hander Sydney Lessentine warming up in the Aggie bullpen. I don't think that Trisha Ford and company want to have to use Lessentine here in game one, but she is getting loose.
Well, the first two pitches to Avery Hodge are strikes, so just like that, Emily Kennedy working quickly ahead in the count. No balls, 2 strikes to Hodge. And the home crowd is getting a little bit louder. LSU has already scored 2 runs here in the top of the 7th. They trail by 5, but bases loaded. Pop up into foul territory, and that will land just out of reach out of Powell, Eshte, and Woolley.
You know, we talked about the LSU approach at the plate. Earlier in this game, they were trying to jump on first pitches. Now, when you have a deficit you're trying to overcome, that approach is going to change, especially in the top of the 7th inning. But the Tigers have done a really, really good job of making the adjustment of, instead of jumping on the first pitch strike, we're going to try and get Emily Kennedy to throw more pitches, work the counts, find a way on base, and get that tying run at the plate. And their approach in the top of the 7th here has been fantastic.
Ball misses outside, so 2 balls, 2 strikes to Hodge. She's hitting .444 with bases loaded this season. LSU is 5 for 10 with runners in scoring position. This one right at Woolley. And she makes the catch for a big out, number 2. And it feels like that second out lifted the weight just a little bit. Still not over, folks. You got the top of the order. I didn't expect to see Danica Coffey again in this ball game up to bat. She is 0 for 4 on the night with a huge opportunity here in the top of the 7th. The 12th man is on their feet here with 2 outs at Davis Diamond. Can the Aggies take game 1 of the series, or can LSU work a little magic here in the 7th? Pitch just misses outside. 2 balls, 1 strike to Coffey. As I mentioned, Coffey 0 for 4 on the night, but still hitting a crisp .432 on the season.
Not too bad, huh?
This one lifted into left field. Eshte with the scoop. And looks cool, calm, and collected after the massive 3rd out. Texas A&M takes game 1, 12-7. What a ride, Donna.
What an absolute web gem out left field from Kramer Eshte to put this one to bed. And the Aggies, big offensive night for the Maroon and White. That's their 13th ranked win of the season.
So it got a little wild, but the Aggies were able to close it in the end with a beautiful defensive play by the left fielder, Kramer Eshte. And we are going to say good night from Davis Diamond. Once again, our final score, Texas A&M 12, LSU 7.